How's it going here, and welcome back to another camera comparison with the OnePlus 9 Pro. And today I've actually got two OnePlus 9 Pros. I've got one running Oxygen 11 based off of Android 11, and another running OxygenOS 12 based off of Android 12, or essentially Oppo's ColorOS. And so right now you're looking at the rear main cameras with the portrait video style, so you can see what that looks like side by side. And really with the upgrade from Android 11 to 12, I think a lot of people were worried that the color science, the color reproduction would change from the more natural looking color tones and focus with the Hasselblad partnership up in OxygenOS versus the color reproduction that you see in the Oppo ColorOS camera app on Android 12. And so that's why I did this camera comparison. And I gave my thoughts at the end. You can kind of ignore that a little bit because I was looking at the results primarily on my phone. And now that I've looked at it on my computer, my opinion has kind of changed. You'll really notice a difference there. So basically for photos, the photo performance is going to be pretty much the same. You're not going to see much of a difference. Video on the rear cameras is where there is the main difference here. On Android 12, you're going to see much more warmer color tones. The blues and the greens aren't necessarily what you would call more natural looking or true to life colors like they are on Android 11. The front-facing cameras, photos and videos are pretty much going to look fairly similar. They're just going to have different features in the camera app, which I'm going to show you in some of the samples. So pay attention to that in the video section. And like I said, photos are pretty much going to be pretty much on par between the two. But judge for yourself. Take a look at all the photos and videos. We all see things different. We don't have to always agree. I'm always interested to hear your opinion, so drop me a comment after you've seen it all and let me know what you think. And hopefully enjoy the video. Hey everyone, so this is take 2 of the rear video camera test between Android 11 and Android 12 on the OnePlus 9 Pro. Android 11 is the silver and Android 12 is running on the green version. And the first time I did this test, the 4K 30 frames per second video from the Android 12 version was not stabilized for some reason. I did a test run on 1080p, which was stabilized. I put it back to 4K 30 and it seems to be stabilizing now. So that was maybe a minor glitch with the upgrade. Just thought I'd note that if you're having problems. Try shooting in 1080p and then reshooting again in 4K, should come out stabilized. So as you can see, they're both recording from the rear facing cameras. This is the ultra wide angle lens on each, again at 4K 30 frames per second, and this time this all should be stabilized on Android 12. Android 11 was always running smoothly and very stable. So I'll just pan around here so you can see what the difference is here with these ultra wide angle lenses on the different software here. Check out the color reproduction, see if you notice any differences here between Android 11 and Android 12 on the OnePlus 9 Pro Ultra Wide. Let's go ahead and switch into a one tap into the main lens on Android 11. Android 12, the ColorOS camera app, you kind of have to use the zoom, so you can't do a one tap in. So let's go ahead and kind of tap in a bit so you can see here, this is still the ultra wide angle camera. And the next tap, you'll see it pop in. So that's the main lens, and you can see it kind of pop in and shift. So that is now the main camera on each. I'll pan around so you can see what this looks like here. Check out the color reproduction and the image reproduction on both of these with a different software. And we'll pan over here to the right and we'll do a zoom test on that tower. So one tap, 2 times digital zoom there on Android 11. And let's move in to 2 times here, smooth zoom, back out a little bit to 2 times on Android 12. And they both can go up to 10 times digital zoom here at 4K. So this is 10 times on Android 11. And let's move into 10 times here slowly on Android 12. So that's 10 times digital zoom on each. Not the clearest, but fairly stable. And let's go ahead and back it out on Android 12. Smooth zoom back out here. Let's get back to 1 times here. I still wish they had the 1 tap buttons, and let's go ahead and 1 tap back on Android 11. And let's go ahead and test autofocus with Android 11 first. So let's go there. Really snappy autofocus and refocus away. And some pretty nice natural bokeh, shallow depth of field, background blur, whatever you want to call it. And now with Android 12 version here, and let's go ahead and get it to focus in and away, and let's see if this will focus in this time. And there we go, and away, and one more time. There we go, and still pretty nice shallow depth of field there. And let's go ahead and test stabilization this time by walking down the stairs. And now both of these should be looking fairly stable on both Android 11 and 12. And let's go ahead and stress it out by jogging a little bit and see what that looks like. And we'll pull up here and we'll pan up into the skies. You can see how these cameras handle the changing lighting conditions. Hey everyone, this is a front-facing camera test on the OnePlus 9 Pro with Android 11 in the black case and Android 12 on that silver case. As you can see, they are both recording from the front-facing cameras here. and this is at their max resolution and frame rates. And so some interesting differences here between the app on Android 11 and 12. On Android 11, I have a 60 frames per second option at 1080p, and I don't have a 60 frames per second option here on Android 12. But I do have portrait video on Android 12. Like you can see right here, you can see that background blur going on right now. And by default it's at f/2.8, but you can stop it down or up, so you can adjust them on a blur if you want to as well. So that's a pretty nice feature they added to the front-facing camera. Of course, you can do portrait video on the rear-facing camera on both. But that's a little bit differences here from the camera apps and the front-facing cameras here between Android 11 and Android 12. So I'll pan around here so you can see what the differences look like here as the lighting slightly changes. So with the sunset behind me right now, you can see what it does to the video quality and image quality. We'll go all the way back around and we'll test stabilization by walking here so you can see what that looks like side by side. And I think with the background blur, even though stabilization is on, it's a little bit more jittery than with it off. So I'll do another test with no portrait video coming up. But let me know what you think about these modes here on the front-facing camera between Android 11 and Android 12 on the OnePlus 9 Pro. Alright, so we're back at 1080p 30 frames per second on both Android 11 and Android 12 on OnePlus 9 Pro here. So there's no portrait video effect, no effects of any kind on either of these front-facing cameras. Straight 1080p 30 frames per second on each, and stabilization is on both. And so as I start walking, you can see what that looks like side by side. I think stabilization is a little bit better on Android 12 without the portrait video effect like you would expect. But here's how they compare on Android 11 and Android 12 on the OnePlus 9 Pro. Alright, I'm in low light video time with the OnePlus 9 Pro on Android 11 and Android 12. This is the ultra wide angle lens on each at 4K 30 frames per second. So I'll just pan around to give you a feel for how these compare on Android 11 versus 12. See if you notice any kind of color reproduction differences or any kind of differences at all in the video quality here. And I'll go ahead and move into the main lens. It's a one touch still on Android 11 interface, and it's more of a slide to zoom in. So you kind of saw that pop in. Do it one more time. So this is ultra wide, and there you go, wide angle on Android 12. So main lens here on both. And I'll pan around again just to give you a feel for how that compares here on both operating systems on the OnePlus 9 Pro. Of course, this is much brighter than the ultra wide angle footage that you saw, although the ultra wide angle footage did look pretty good. But this main camera obviously takes in more light. It's a lot larger sensor, and you can see how it flares out that bright street light. Not too bad actually overall. And we'll pan around this way and we'll start walking to a much darker area like I always do. So we started out in a very brightly lit situation, so you can see how it does in a fairly well lit area, and we'll now see how it does in a more difficult lighting situation as we move closer to the corner. And as always, check to see if you see any kind of micro jitters. Right now in the stabilization, that will always tend to happen in low light. And as you can see, we're around the corner now. It's much darker out here, although through the viewfinder I can see that both are definitely trying to brighten up everything much more than what I'm seeing with my own eyes, at the cost of a good amount of noise here, as evident when we pan up here into the night sky. And they actually both kind of adjusted the exposure a bit, so it's not super blown out and too noisy, but definitely brighter than what I'm seeing. We'll pan over here down the alleyway, where it's a mixed lighting situation, where it's kind of dark but accented off these building lights. You can see how it handles and controls those lights pretty well there. So there you go, there's a 4K video test on the OnePlus 9 Pro with Android 11 versus Android 12.
I got that heat, let's go.
So here's some low light video from the front facing cameras on the OnePlus 9 Pro on Android 11 and Android 12 here. They're both at 1080p 30 frames per second, and there is no kind of portrait effect on either or of these. There is a portrait effect available on the Android 12. I don't have it on just to keep everything even here, especially in low light where things get a little more difficult. And so obviously I'm starting out in a very well lit situation, so I can see in a fairly ideally lit situation what these cameras can look like here on both operating systems. You can see all the lights around me and how those front facing cameras are handling that. I've got stabilization on Android 12, so let's go ahead and start walking to test that and how that compares to the stabilization here on the front facing camera while on Android 11. And so as always, I'll walk over to a much darker area here, much more difficult lighting condition situation, so you can see how the cameras perform from a fairly well lit area to a much darker area here. Also have you found into my right, so we can test out the microphones and how they handle that background noise there. And as I pan around back this way, you'll be see how these front-facing cameras handle that really bright street lights behind me, right there, and actually controlling that pretty well for how bright those lights are. And let's just move back over here to this darker area so you can see what that looks like here on each of these front-facing cameras side by side on Android 11 and again on Android 12. And so from seeing the viewfinder, both are brightening up the scene quite a bit, but not too noisy. It actually looks pretty decent in the viewfinder here. So, and I think I'm just going to wrap up this camera comparison right here. So do let me know what you thought about the OnePlus 9 Pro on Android 11 or Android 12. I think a lot of people are expecting some differences here on Android 12 with the new camera app and maybe more of the ColorOS like processing versus more of the Hasselblad, OnePlus, OxygenOS processing on Android 11. Personally, after taking a quick look at all the photos, I didn't see much of a difference in the color science at all. They both look to be about the same, so color reproduction seems to be about the same. Video I didn't take an in-depth look at, but just glancing at it, it looked fairly similar to me as well. And so I didn't see a lot of differences, maybe just differences in as far as features that I pointed out throughout the video in the camera apps. But as far as image quality, image processing, video quality, all that still seems to be about the same on Android 12. You're just going to have a different interface, obviously, with some different feature sets on Android 12. Other than that, it seems pretty close to me, but do let me know what you think. And drop a comment and let me know. Did you see any kind of differences that I may have missed? Let me know also any other questions about either Android 12 on the OnePlus 9 Pro or the OnePlus 9 Pro in general. Drop a comment as well. I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.